welcome for all of you tuned in. You're tuned into TMH's Daily English News. Our headlines for today: a senior official of the government of Tigray says time is running out for peace talks with Ethiopia to be inevitable. Researchers say Tigray is exposed to the threat not only of extermination now, but also the future. And All African Students Union decries human rights violations against Tigray University students within Ethiopia. As we move on to our main updates, a senior official of the government of Tigray says it is time and it's running out for the peace talks to be held with Ethiopia. Ambassador Wondimu Asammino of Tigray External Affairs Office made the remark in an interview with TMH on recent meeting with EU, US, UN envoys, as well as the representatives of some countries who did in fact visit Tigray region. Ambassador Wondimu said the siege is having an unbearable impact on the people and the government of Tigray. Let's take a listen.
ግን ድማ ተዓባይ ነገር ምስኣተ ደሓዘት ባር ዓመት ሙሉእ ተጠሊና ኢና ቃሊእተ ዓለም ለኸ ማሕበረሰብ እውን ምንም ይገብርን እዛ ናይ ኸዚ ወግዕና ናይ ኸዚ ስምዕነትና ናይ መጨረሻ ዕድል እያ ህዝብና ሰራዊትና ካብ ብጥሜት ኣብ ገዛ ተዓፂና ክንሃልቅ እፅዋ ክንሰብር ተተሰዋና ሕሽ ዝብል ሳቕጠለና እዩ ናይ ህዝብና ስለዝኾነ እዚ ተረዱ እዚ ነገር እዚ ብተስፋ ጥራሕ ነዊሕ ግዜ ክኸይድ ኣይኽእልን ኣብዚ ሓፀረ ግዜ እዚ ነገር እዚ ተሓጋጊዝና ናብ ትርጉም ዘለዎ ተግባራዊ ስራሕቲ ንእተ ዝብል ምርድዳእ እውን ተበፂሕሉ እዩ
Ambassador Wondimu Asammino also highlighted other sticking points like the issue of Eritrean troops inside the Tigray region and the status of Western Tigray currently.
ካልኣይ ዘውጋዕናዮ ናይ ኤርትራ ሓይሊ እውን ካብ መሬት ኢትዮጵያ ክወፅእ መንግስቲ ኢትዮጵያ እንድሕር ብዕሊ ተሓሳሲቡ ኣብ ካልኦት መሰረታዊ ናይ ትግራይ ሕቶታት ምዕራብ ትግራይ እውን ሓዊሱ بمسارة حساب درجة أتريست خنسماع تخيلنا لابتو سبستانتيف ديالوج وخناتي بزعوازة تخنو نخلينا زبل مردد علومه.
Our next update, researchers have said that Tigray is currently exposed to the threat not only of extermination now, but also the future generations as well. Emneth Nagash, who's a doctoral student and a research at Ghent University and a professor at Maqala University, told TMH that the ecocide is at great or even greater risk to the people of Tigray. Let's take a listen.
Well, a genocide is a risk of being exterminated now. But if you have an ecocide, then it would mean any people, any future generation who could survive the genocide would be exterminated by an ecocide because the environment would be inhabitable anyway. People would flee and dislocate themselves anyway.
Emnet and his fellow researchers at Ghent University estimate over 100,000, which is equal to or greater than those that are dying because of lack of food currently.
Our estimation gives about 100,000, more than 100,000. So it's still an estimate and not accurate on, but the Ethiopian government has not contested it yet.
The Ethiopian and Eritrean governments and the expansionist Amhara forces have committed ecocide, which according to the researcher is the wanton and deliberate destruction of the natural environment of that region. The All African Students Union decries human rights violations against Tigray University students currently within Ethiopia. The All African Students Union said it is highly mortified by the news of appalling acts of human rights violations being levied on thousands of Tigray University students who are caught up in and out of the conflict zones of this ongoing war within Ethiopia. The union decried the violent acts and threats of deaths against Ethiopian students of Tigrayan origin. It also called on Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, the government of Ethiopia, the United Nations Human Rights Council, the African Union, and the International Committee of the Red Cross, as well as other relevant institutions to speak against this heinous acts and protect the human rights of Tigrayan students, and also bring these perpetrators finally to justice. Reports from institutions with knowledge of this matter indicate that Tigrayan students living in dormitories in parts of Ethiopia outside of Tigray have made homeless and are exposed to severe hardships due to the difficulties in accessing support from their homeland, as well as results of ongoing siege on the Tigray region. While AASU urges the parties to the conflict to seek an immediate peaceful solution to the restoration of the country to normalcy, the union believes that human rights protection is solely within the remit of the government of Ethiopia. It called on the government of Ethiopia to protect the human rights of all Ethiopians, including students from the Tigray region, and also called on the humanitarian organizations, the African Union, and the United Nations institutions to finally facilitate support and relief and mechanisms for those who are stranded as Tigrayan students. The All Africa Students Union said, as an ardent advocate of human rights, it would continue to champion the rights of students and young people to create better opportunities for learning and development for the entirety of Africa as well. As we move on to our next update, FAO says it has scaled up procurement of fertilizers within the Tigray region. A statement, which was released by UN Specialized Agency, reported that this was made possible by a $10 million loan from the UN Central Emergency Response Fund. According to FAO, the funds have helped to speed up delivery of agricultural inputs to farmers during this critical planting season. The loan, which forms part of the resource partnership's commitments, is helping FAO to accelerate the procurement and delivery of all of these crucial agricultural inputs to Tigray, particularly fertilizers, which may be delivered and applied by the end of August 2022. FAO stated that the provision of fertilizers will help restore the productive capacity of farmers in Tigray, whereas in the case in all regions affected by internal conflict, there has been a widespread disruption of agricultural activities, elevated levels of acute food insecurity, and loss of livelihoods since the beginning of this war in November of 2020. There is a small window of opportunity to prevent severe hunger by delivering critical agricultural inputs and enable farmers to produce sufficient amounts of food for the population that is currently averting a potential increase in humanitarian needs, said Reen Paulson, who's the director of FAO's Official Emergencies and Resilience Party. To date, FAO partners have procured just over 19,000 tons of fertilizer, and enough only to meet the fertilizer needs of approximately 380,000 households. A first batch of more than 7,000 tons has already been distributed to farmers in the Tigray region, and FAO partners aims at providing the total requirements of 60,000 tons to Tigray if funds do allow to do so. Oromo Liberation Front slams AU characterizations of military conflict within the Oromia region as quote-unquote ethnic violence. In a statement released, the opposition party, Oromo Liberation Front, has criticized the African Union's characterization of militarized conflict within the Oromia regional state as ethnic violence. The OLF was referring to a recent brief note by the AU after its High Representative for the Horn of Africa, Olusegun Obasanjo, briefed the AU Peace and Security Council on the peace talks currently taking place within Ethiopia. The party said such characterizations was based on erroneous assumptions and factual fallacies that only does not expect from a continental organization. A modest observer expects AU to base its conclusions on a nonpartisan, solid, and comprehensive analysis of the drivers of the conflict and its actors, as the statement added. Apart from the conflict in Tigray, Western Ethiopia continued to be confronted by ethnic violence that is taking a heavy toll on intercommunal relations, including parts of Oromia and Benishangul Gumuz regions, and according to the statement, AU's characterizations disregards the fact that different groups of people who subsume varieties and identities have amicably lived with the Oromo people in the Oromia region in general, and even the Western Oromia in particular. OLF said that it is sad to see the AU endorse this disingenuous stance of Ethiopian ruling parties, raising serious doubt about the impartiality of the continental organization. Our final update for today, the defunct Ethiopian Workers' Party, also known as EWP, is said to be bracing for a comeback to the political scene in Ethiopia. EWP, which was headed by former military dictator Mengistu Haile Mariam, dubbed the Butcher of Addis, has submitted an application to the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia for registration as a political party into the country. The defunct party was an institution that was ruled and had ruled Ethiopia through an iron fist and state of terror that led to the death of tens and thousands of people total. That concludes our news for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.